Welcome to the Golden Line, Chapter 8, Exile. In this chapter, we follow the stories of Daniel, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah into Babylon, a foreign land of kings, dreams, fire, lions, and pressure to forget who they were.
Mom, Chapter 7 ended so sadly. Jerusalem fell, the temple burned, and the people were taken to Babylon. Is the Golden Line still alive?
Yes, sweetheart. That is the amazing part. Chapter 7 ended with Jerusalem destroyed and God's people carried away to Babylon. They were far from the land, far from the temple, far from the kingdom they once knew. But God was still with them. In Chapter 8, we enter the exile. The people had lost Jerusalem and the temple, but God had not lost them. And the Golden Line was not left behind in the ruins. It moved with the exiles into Babylon.
So what did the Babylonians try to do?
Babylon did not only want to capture their bodies, Babylon wanted to capture their identity. When the young Hebrew men arrived, they were taken into the royal court. They were taught the language, stories, customs, and wisdom of Babylon. The empire wanted them to think like Babylonians, speak like Babylonians, eat like Babylonians, and eventually worship like Babylonians. Among these young men were Daniel and his 3 friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They were far from home, but they still belonged to God. Then Babylon gave them new names. Daniel was given the name Belteshazzar. Babylon was saying, "Your old life is gone. Your old faith is gone. Your old God is gone. You belong to us now." But Daniel and his friends knew the truth. They could live in Babylon, but they did not belong to Babylon. So Babylon tried to rename them before it tried to make them bow. That is why Chapter 8 teaches us something very important. When the world tries to rename you, reshape you, and make you bow, remember who you belong to. Daniel remembered. Even when everyone called him by a Babylonian name, he remembered the God of Israel. Even when he wore Babylonian clothes, learned Babylonian language, and served in a Babylonian palace, his heart still belonged to God. And the first test came in a very simple way. Food. The king gave Daniel and his friends rich food and wine from the royal table, but Daniel decided he would not defile himself with the king's food.
Was the king's food really such a big test?
Small choices show where the heart is. He asked to eat simple food instead, vegetables and water. To Babylon, that may have looked weak, but to God, it was faithfulness. After 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier than the others. God blessed them with wisdom, understanding, and courage. This teaches us that big courage often begins with small obedience. Then came a much bigger test. King Nebuchadnezzar had a terrifying dream.
What was Nebuchadnezzar's dream about?
He saw a huge statue. Its head was gold. Its chest and arms were silver. Its belly and thighs were bronze. Its legs were iron. Its feet were partly iron and partly clay. Then a stone, not cut by human hands, struck the statue and crushed it. The statue broke into pieces and the wind carried it away. But the stone became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Nebuchadnezzar was troubled because he knew the dream meant something. But none of his wise men could explain it. So God gave Daniel the meaning. Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar that the statue represented earthly kingdoms. Great empires would rise, one after another. Babylon was the head of gold, powerful and shining. But Babylon would not last. Other kingdoms would come. They also would not last. Then Daniel spoke of a kingdom that God himself would set up, a kingdom that would never be destroyed.
Is that pointing to Jesus?
Yes, Babylon looked powerful, but it would not last. God was preparing a kingdom that would never end, the kingdom of Christ. The golden line was moving through exile toward Jesus. But Nebuchadnezzar did not fully understand the dream yet. He made a huge golden statue of his own. Then he commanded everyone to bow down and worship it. The music played and the entire empire bowed. But 3 men remained standing.
Did Daniel's friends refuse to bow?
Yes. Everyone else bowed, but they stood.
The king was furious. He gave them another chance. He warned them that if they did not bow, they would be thrown into a blazing furnace. Then he asked, "Who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands?" But they answered with courage. They said the true God was able to deliver them. But even if he did not, they would not worship the golden image. So Nebuchadnezzar ordered the furnace to be heated even hotter. The soldiers threw them into the fire. But then the king looked into the flames and was shocked. He saw 4 men walking in the fire, and the 4th looked like a son of God.
Was God really with them in the fire?
God did not keep them away from the furnace, but he was with them inside it.
The fire did not destroy them. Their clothes were not burned. They did not even smell of smoke. And because of that, Nebuchadnezzar was forced to admit that their God was powerful. Years passed. Babylon continued in pride. After Nebuchadnezzar came another king, Belshazzar. One night, Belshazzar held a great feast. He drank wine with his nobles, wives, and concubines. Then he did something terrible. He used the sacred vessels taken from God's temple in Jerusalem. Those holy cups, which belonged to the temple, were used in a drunken feast to praise false gods. Babylon was mocking the God of Israel. Then suddenly, a mysterious hand appeared and began writing on the wall. The king became terrified. His face changed. His knees shook. No one could explain the words. So Daniel was called.
What was the writing on the wall?
The message was judgment.
Daniel told Belshazzar that God had numbered his kingdom and brought it to an end. He had been weighed and found wanting. His kingdom would be divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That very night, Babylon fell. The great empire that had destroyed Jerusalem was conquered. Earthly kingdoms rise and fall, but God's promise continues. Then Persia rose to power, and Daniel, now older, continued to serve faithfully. But even under a new empire, the test of identity came again. Some jealous officials hated Daniel because he was faithful and wise. They could not find corruption in him, so they attacked his prayer life. They convinced King Darius to make a law that no one could pray to any god or man except the king for 30 days. Anyone who disobeyed would be thrown into the lion's den. Daniel heard the law, but he did not wait for a safe world to live faithfully. He prayed in Babylon. He prayed under foreign kings. He prayed when it could cost him his life. So they threw Daniel into the lion's den. A stone was placed over the entrance. The king could not sleep that night. Early in the morning, Darius hurried to the den and called out to Daniel. And Daniel answered. God had sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel was alive. Babylon could change Daniel's location, but it could not change his faith in God. That is the heart of chapter 8. When the world tries to rename you, reshape you, and make you bow, remember who you belong to. But Daniel was not the only sign of hope in exile. God also spoke through the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel was living among the exiles in Babylon when God gave him a vision that felt almost like a dream. He saw the glory of God, bright, powerful, and holy. In his dream, he saw himself standing in a valley filled with dry bones. Everywhere he looked, there were bones. it looked like there was no hope. Then God told Ezekiel to speak to the bones. The bones came together, flesh covered them, breath entered them. They stood up like a great army. This vision represented Israel. The people looked dead as a nation, but God could bring life from death. God promised to give his people a new heart and a new spirit. This showed that the real problem was deeper than geography. The people did not only need to return to Jerusalem, they needed hearts that would return to God. That is why Jeremiah's promise was so important. Jeremiah said God would make a new covenant. Not only a law written on stone, but a law written on the heart. So even in exile, God was preparing something greater. A deeper rescue, a greater covenant, a kingdom that would never end. So chapter 8 shows us many kinds of exile. Daniel in the palace, the 3 friends before the statue, Ezekiel among the captives. The people lost their land, they lost their temple, they lost their earthly king. But they did not lose God, and the golden line kept moving.
So chapter 9 begins when God brings them home?
Yes, sweetheart. Babylon falls, Persia rises, and God moves the heart of a Persian king named Cyrus.
After 70 years, the door begins to open. The exiles will return to Jerusalem. They will rebuild the temple. They will rebuild the walls. They will try to become God's people again. But returning to the land is not enough. God's people still need a new heart. They still need the true king, and the golden line is still moving toward him. That is where chapter 9 begins. Return.